Following Nick Reiner's arrest for the killing of his biological parents, online sleuths began stitching together fragments from his past. What surfaced grew increasingly disturbing with each discovery. Old videos, once dismissed as harmless, suddenly felt like delayed warnings hiding in plain sight. In one clip from 2016, Nick casually threatened to kill a barking dog. Moments later, he confessed to having sick thoughts he said needed attention, a remark ignored then, but chilling in hindsight. Footage from the promotion of Being Charlie deepened the unease. While Rob Reiner radiated warmth and effort as a father trying to connect, Nick answered with clipped, detached responses, openly stating he was never close to his dad. Beyond dialogue, his body language told its own story. Every glance away and shut-down gesture suggested discomfort simmering beneath the surface. Looking back, the signs appear unmistakable. Joking about violence and emotional indifference can be sparks waiting for a final drop to ignite tragedy. A resurfaced 2016 video intensified public shock after the murders. It showed Nick wandering calmly, eyes hollow, voice eerily flat, as though balancing between awareness and collapse. What was once archival footage transformed into a warning no one heeded. As he spoke about gathering his sick thoughts, the peaceful Brentwood streets clashed violently with his words. The documentary-style filming heightened the dread. When asked his name, Nick rejected the question, distancing himself from identity and connection, hinting at growing detachment and inflated self-importance. The clip ended with a line that no longer felt like nonsense. What once sounded absurd now echoed as a warped premonition spoken without full comprehension. Later footage darkened the picture further. Laughing scenes with his sister, cannabis use, and unexplained white powder suggested instability no one addressed. When Nick bluntly declared he had a severe personality disorder, the moment passed without intervention. Then, when a dog interrupted filming, his calm threat to kill it chilled viewers more than rage ever could. Recorded during the 2016 promotion of Being Charlie, the irony was cruel. While the film was praised as redemptive, real-life fractures were quietly spreading beneath the surface. If those clips unsettled viewers, the aftermath was worse. Surveillance footage showed Nick calmly entering a gas station after killing his parents, behaving like an ordinary customer. Dressed casually and moving without urgency, he browsed, paid, and spoke politely to the cashier. Employees later said nothing about him seemed unusual. An hour later, normalcy shattered. Police vehicles flooded the scene, lights tearing through the night as the arrest unfolded. Nick neither ran nor resisted. Standing beneath harsh fluorescent lights, he raised his hands calmly, eyes empty, as though expecting this outcome. His composure made the moment unforgettable. It closed a grim sequence where silence and surface normalcy concealed irreversible violence. Seeing Nick Reiner's vacant expression now, the question remains, how should such a killer be understood? Share your thoughts below. Up next, another clip reveals an even darker edge. During a 2016 AOL Build interview, the contrast between father and son was impossible to ignore. Rob Reiner spoke with care and protection, while Nick warned quietly that angering him would unleash something far worse. He openly declared that his son mattered more than anything else. Whenever Nick's name surfaced, his voice softened, as though protecting his child could erase every pain he'd ever known. Yet beside him, Nick felt distant and closed off. He replied in short, flat sentences, his tone stripped of feeling. His eyes drifted past the interviewer, rarely toward his father, unreadable and cold, creating an unease that lingered in the room. What looked like silence wasn't emotional depth, but emotional absence. Asked about their childhood bond, Nick simply answered that they never really connected. No elaboration followed. His guarded expression froze the moment, while Rob instinctively tried to bridge the emptiness his son left behind. Nick disclosed he had been through rehab 18 times, a number heavy enough to break most people. He described drugs not as pleasure, but as a way to silence the chaos tied to family expectations and personal insecurity. Rob later admitted that trusting systems over instincts turned help into harm, unintentionally deepening his son's wounds. When homelessness and addiction came up, Nick spoke with a disturbing detachment. He listed states and nights on the street like data points, devoid of pain or emotion. The trauma sounded reduced to facts. Beneath his calm delivery, flashes of volatility hinted at something dangerous simmering below. When sobriety was framed as a triumph, Nick warned instead of an explosion waiting beneath the surface. Though acting was praised as healing, it was clear art could not erase resentment. Nick acknowledged his father's love, yet felt abandoned when rules replaced empathy, making their public reconciliation in 2016 only a pause in a longer collapse. His body language told the story words avoided. In another 2016 interview, his posture was rigid, arms closed, movements minimal, as if physically locking himself away. His blank expression projected a quiet chill, an invisible wall between him and everyone else. Asked about working with his father, Nick responded flatly that it wasn't difficult and was fairly pleasant. He avoided eye contact, spoke slowly, and offered nothing beyond the surface. Rob, by contrast, confessed regret, admitting he mistook authority for understanding and punishment for care. Even as Rob humbled himself, Nick remained unmoved. He repeated that nothing was hard, compressing years of pain into lifeless phrases. His distant stare suggested not resistance, but complete withdrawal. Rob clung to filmmaking as a bridge, calling Nick the heart of the project and reaffirming his love. Each affectionate statement met little response, only nods and brief replies. Humor became Nick's shield, a way to mock pain before it consumed him. He joked about rehab with brutal detachment, turning suffering into dark comedy. Where Rob used laughter to ease discomfort, Nick used it to expose reality. Under pressure, signs of instability surfaced in restless movements and forced smiles. Though present, he remained emotionally trapped in past confinement. As Rob shifted to safer public topics, Nick withdrew further, answering silence with silence. His world had already collapsed, and no film could rebuild it. Years later, Nick appeared in court, speaking only 3 words. On December 17, 2025, he faced 2 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of his parents. Delayed for health reasons, the hearing showed him shackled, hunched, and emotionless behind glass. He stared forward as the charges were read, unmoved and unresponsive. His stillness felt less like calm and more like emptiness. When asked if he understood his rights, he replied flatly, "Yes, Your Honor," and said nothing more. He entered no plea and was denied bail, with proceedings postponed to January 7, 2026. His attorney, Alan Jackson, urged restraint and confirmed the case's complexity, requesting time for psychiatric evaluation. Sources later revealed Nick had been diagnosed with schizophrenia, with recent medication changes worsening his condition. Years of addiction and untreated illness formed a quiet descent into tragedy. As he was led away, silent and vacant, the image lingered, not because of the crime alone, but because the absence of emotion seemed to predate it. In earlier footage, Nick spoke about rehab with cold resignation rather than rage. He admitted it was often forced by his parents, not chosen, planting seeds of resentment. Though he believed they loved him, that love felt suffocating. Music, once his lifeline, became restricted under constant supervision. For Nick, creativity meant survival, and losing it felt like losing breath. He insisted their mistake wasn't a lack of love, but a lack of trust in his ability to stand alone.
What was framed as concern slowly became control, leaving him feeling fragile and powerless. At one moment, Nick rushed his words, afraid they might disappear, saying, "I'm lucky my parents care about me," only to undo that sentiment seconds later. Then he admitted that using drugs filled him with crushing guilt, speaking so softly it barely carried. Rather than fearing arrest, he worried about disappointing his parents, a thought that haunted him constantly. He never asked to be forgiven, only whispered, "I want peace," a wish that failed to free him. Instead of saving him, that love intensified his shame and inner punishment. It couldn't stop his choices, only made the fallout heavier. Here, love wasn't rescue, it was the weight dragging him deeper. Rob loved his son deeply, but love alone could not save him, and as Rob himself said, mental illness is devastating beyond comprehension.
Later, a close family friend offered the final outside account. Barry, who stayed with the Reiners for 5 days during a film premiere, said he saw the family in what felt like their last normal moments. Nothing during that visit hinted at what was coming. Nick appeared healthy, sober, and fully present, sharing meals and conversations filled with warmth. He played sports, helped around the house, watched TV, and blended seamlessly into family life. There were no warning signs Barry could point to, no moments of visible danger. From the outside, everything looked calm, loving, even ideal. What unsettled Barry later wasn't a lack of love, but too much of it. He emphasized that the love was genuine, not performative or shallow. Rob and Michelle never abandoned their son during years of addiction. They tried endlessly, not just with money, but by securing the best treatment they could find, always hoping this time would work. Yet from that foundation of devotion, the unimaginable still happened. Barry said Rob never gave up because love defined who he was. The tragedy is that even overwhelming love cannot always save someone sinking into their own darkness. Those peaceful days, shared meals, and quiet evenings became, in hindsight, the calm before collapse. Seen alongside Nick's interviews, his flat tone, distant eyes, and detached descriptions of addiction, it forms a chilling picture. The danger wasn't loud or violent, but silent and frozen, marked by emotional withdrawal and disconnection from pain. So when you watch these moments, what stands out to you most? The silence, the eyes, or the way Nick spoke as if reporting on someone else's life? Share your thoughts below, because recognizing these signs may help prevent another tragedy. And if you want more deep dives into human psychology and the stories behind the camera, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications for what comes next.